Today I'm explaining the 20 best lightsaber duelists from Star Wars. Even though many of these are well known, such as Count Dooku and Anakin Skywalker, both masters of Form 2 and Form 5 respectively, I'll also be looking at some of the more obscure Jedi characters like Plo Koon, who beat Master Yoda in a lightsaber duel. Before we get started, comment who you think the top 3 best lightsaber duelists are going to be, and if you get them right, I will do nothing. Yeah, good job, I guess. At 20 is Jade. The Yuuzhan Vong War saw the Skywalkers and Vila encounter the deranged Dark Jedi Lord Nyax, who had lightsabers surgically implanted in his elbows, knees, and forearms, thus providing him with 6 lightsaber blades with which to fight. Ultimately, the Skywalkers and Vila, including Jade, were able to defeat Nyax with relatively little injury, even though Nyax easily slaughtered the Jedi, killing Voxen that the Yuuzhan Vong sent after him. Jade Skywalker was known to use the Ataru form. At 19 is Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress was a master of Jar-Kai, a style where 2 lightsabers are used at the same time. Under the tutelage of Dooku, Ventress learned to utilize Form 2, and Ahsoka Tano recognized her as too powerful for any one Jedi to fight alone. Ventress proved a match for both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker in many of their encounters. At 18 is Mundi. Mundi used a blue-bladed lightsaber and was an expert in its use, possessing at least some skill with Makashi. Mundi also had extremely fast reflexes, which allowed him to react in time to defend himself for a short while after his clone troopers attacked him after the enactment of Order 66. If you are enjoying this video, consider subscribing because it does really help out the channel. At 17 is Depa Billaba, who was a rare master of the Vapad variant of Form 7, which was taught to her by Jedi Master Mace Windu. Her dueling skills enabled her to hold her own against General Grievous on separate occasions, though both times she was ultimately bested by the cyborg. At 16 is Plo Koon. He was a master of the 5th form of lightsaber combat, Form 5 Xian, and Master Plo was considered to be one of the most skilled swordsmen in the Jedi Order, and was capable of fending off the infamous Jedi Hunter Asajj Ventress while being encumbered by a broken arm. And you may have heard before that Plo Koon defeated Yoda in a lightsaber duel, but it turns out this was a training exercise in a non-canon game, so take from that what you will. At 15 is Oppo Rancisis. Despite rarely using his weapon, Master Rancisis brandished it to fight off the Anzadi assassins who infiltrated his chambers and attacked him before the Clone Wars, killing or incapacitating all of them. Sora Bulk acknowledged his skill with a blade and thus opted not to engage him in direct combat, but to instead use subterfuge to kill him. Oppo's lightsaber abilities were augmented by his skills in hand-to-hand combat, and he used any part of his body that he could to attack enemies, including his 4 hands and his tail. At 14 is General Grievous. This cyborg general was a master of several different lightsaber forms in combat, and Grievous was capable of quickly adapting to the fighting styles implemented by his opponents. Furthermore, due to his enhancements provided to him by his cybernetics, the Kaleesh often utilized and relied on his strength and agility during his encounters with Jedi. At 13 is Darth Malgus. Darth Malgus was an exceptionally talented duelist and specialized in using rage and brute strength to defeat his opponents. Aside from his overwhelming physical strength, which served him well not only in lightsaber duels but also in hand-to-hand combat, Malgus often performed acrobatics to increase his effectiveness in lightsaber combat. His speed was such that a normal human found it difficult to watch his movements in his duels. At 12 is Exar Kun. Kun's formidable prowess in combat was bolstered by his tactical genius in utilizing the adaptability of his double-bladed lightsaber. By suddenly changing the intensity or length of one of his blades, Kun was able to trick his opponents into overextending themselves and creating openings for fatal counter-strikes. At 11 is Darth Bane. Darth Bane was trained in lightsaber combat by the Blade Master Qasim and wielded a red curve-hilted lightsaber. Bane believed that eschewing technical sophistication for fury-driven, strength-orientated swordplay increased his effectiveness as a duelist. At 10 is Kit Fisto. Mace Windu regarded Kit Fisto as one of the greatest lightsaber duelists in the Jedi Order. A notable example of his dueling skills was shown in his fight with infamous Jedi Hunter General Grievous, against whom Kit Fisto held his own very well. And while I would have preferred to put Kit Fisto Fisto at first place. I guess this is technically more accurate. At 9 is Darth Maul. Maul is trained to be a pure weapon of the Sith, and he displayed a considerable skill in Jar Kai, holding his own against Jin and Kenobi simultaneously on Naboo before splitting them up. He even put a reasonable fight up against Darth Sidious on Mandalore when they dueled with dual blades, going as far as to land a kick on the Dark Lord. At 8 is Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is one of the greatest swordsmen of his time, especially with Form 3. In contrast to the aggressive dueling styles of his master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Anakin Skywalker, Kenobi's combat style was mainly defensive, though he would use aggressive attacks when pressed. He faced some of the most dangerous people in the galaxy, such as the deadly Sith Lord Darth Maul and infamous Jedi Hunter General Grievous, respectively, the latter of whom he fought on at least 7 different occasions. At 7 is Luke Skywalker. Though he received little formal training, Luke Skywalker had a natural talent for lightsaber combat. During his rescue of Grogu from Moff Gideon, Skywalker easily defeated a platoon of dark troopers with his lightsaber and the Force. In Legends, he faced an entire army of Yuuzhan Vong by himself with just his lightsaber and Force abilities. At 6 is Tulak Hord. Centuries later, upon inquiry from Mitra Surik, Kreia remarked that Hord was the greatest lightsaber duelist of the Sith Lords, going on to say that his skill was considered remarkable even for his time when many true lightsaber masters lived. He took out over 1,000 Jedi by himself in a series of battles. At 5 is Anakin Skywalker. Skywalker was particularly skilled in Form 5, both the Xian and Jim So variants, and he was able to deflect not only blaster fire with ease, but also shots from freighters. He made good use of Jim So's strength-based strikes and counterattacks to overpower or overwhelm his opponent. By the end of the Clone Wars, he was able to defeat Count Dooku and was at the same level as his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. As Darth Vader, he continued to remain skilled in his abilities, but had to adapt due to his weakened physical state. At 4 is Yoda. Despite his small size and old age, Yoda was an extremely accomplished lightsaber duelist, wielding a short green-bladed lightsaber, and Yoda used the Ataru lightsaber form, boosting his body with the Force to be able to perform the needed movements. Such was his mastery of this form that Yoda could duel Sidious and almost defeated the Sith. But real quick, here's the Christian advice of this video. If you want to get back to the main video where we're looking at the best duelists in Star Wars, then you can skip to right here. And today I want to talk about cursing as a Christian. So, many times in the Bible, it actually discourages cursing. One good example is Matthew 5:22, and then also, things like the 3rd commandment where it says, "You shall not take the Lord's name in vain." Now, this has been very hard for me personally because while you guys might not realize this because on the channel I always refrain from cursing. It's just been a rule I've had to, reach out to as many people as possible on the channel, not be kind of limited there. But as a, outside of this, I definitely do a good bit of cursing, or at least I used to, because, a big thing is I really like, rap music, hip-hop music. That's a big part of my identity. However, recently, I have made it a rule in my life to stop doing that. I think it helps with having some, self-control. I think some people respect it more, and it's just, to me, it seems like I'll be closer to God by not doing it. So I'd say it is a good practice to start for those of you who are really serious about your relationship with God. And while I don't think that it is the most important thing to be thinking about with your relationship with God, like if you have to, for whatever reason, prioritize something else above that, then definitely focus on that first, but it still is something that you should implement for sure. And before we get back to the video, I just want to say that you can comment on this video. If you have any video suggestions or any type of video you think it'd be cool for me to make, because honestly, at the end of the day, I'm doing this for you guys and to give you something to make your week better. So yeah, let me know. I'll be back to the video. At 3, Mace Windu. He used the pod which fed off of the dark side energy of Sith opponents, and when fighting Darth Sidious, whose skills dispatched 3 other Jedi Masters, Windu not only was the sole survivor of the initial assault, but ultimately gained the upper hand, disarmed, and nearly prevailed in killing the Sith Lord. At 2 is Darth Sidious. He had an extremely aggressive, rage-fueled dueling style, and this augmented his sword play by using Force-enhanced speed, which allowed him to kill 3 experienced Jedi Masters at once within seconds. He utilized a violently ferocious yet extremely fluid fighting style during his fight with Maul and Asajj Ventress, holding off the Sith brothers on equal grounds. But at number 1 is Count Dooku. During his time as a Jedi, he was known as one of the Order's finest swordsmen, and it was said that Yoda was his only superior and Mace Windu was his only equal. On Geonosis, Dooku was able to easily defeat both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, one immediately after the other, and then go on to fight Yoda himself. And make sure to let me know in the comments what aspect of the Star Wars lore you want me to cover next. And if you like this video, then you can click right here and see the best user of each lightsaber form. But yeah, see ya.